sure they're aligned correctly. If one's not aligned, he'll take it back, reassess it, reposition it, and bring it back to make sure they both look the same. Each pair is made together. Here's the back side of the box. This is where the shoes come outside of the box. Here we're looking at the shoes before they're attached with the soles, making sure everything looks correct. They've got the paper on the underneath the laces so that the laces don't bite into the leather. Making sure the adjustable strap is properly positioned. Again, it's really critical to make sure that the back heel counter is in the right place. And making samples of everybody's double checking everything, hammering out the leather, trying to get the wrinkles out, get a good snug fit over the last. Once the shoes are on the molds for the direct injection and the sole has been applied, you can't make any changes. So here's the last chance to make any changes. If you look at the last, you'll see that it's fairly flat. It has a small little curve to it, but the fact that it's flat means it has very little drop from the heel to the toe. This should make a lot of you minimalist shoe wearers very happy, because there's not much of a heel on these shoes. Putting the shoes back in the box. For another final run. Here you see the polyurethane direct injection sewing machine. Here he's attaching the upper with the last onto the brace and closing up the molds. Opening up the other mold, making sure everything closes correctly. Sometimes the molds close a little bit slow, so he gives them a little incentive, a little push. This machine is made to produce 6 pairs at a time. The machine can inject 2 different colors, 1 color per sole, but depending upon the uppers, it can inject a brown polyurethane material or black polyurethane material. There you see the mold set up with the uppers for the samples. There's the brown, the black. It's a high-tech machinery. It's a very expensive machine. Machine costs $150,000. The molds cost about $5,000 per pair. They're aluminum molds, 3 pieces per pair, or 3 pieces per mold, so 6 pieces per pair. You can see how everything finally machined so that there's a close fit. There can't be any gapping, because if there's a gap, then the polyurethane foam will shoot out from underneath the upper, and it'll coat the upper, and you'll get a mess, and you'll get a wasted pair of shoes. The beauty about polyurethane directly injected onto the uppers, it just will not come apart. But the problem is, in production, if you have a mistake, you got to throw away a good pair or a good shoe, because you can't reshoot it. Whereas when you cement a pair of soles onto an upper, you got a glue bond that sometimes can be separated, but you have time in which you can move things around and make sure it's a good seal. Here you see the guy giving the mold a little whack to make sure that the joint between or the seam between the upper and the mold is non-existent. If there's any little spacing, then again the polyurethane will shoot out and you'll have a damaged upper. uppers are at the right position. Here he didn't like one of the way the upper was positioned, so he's going to go back and readjust the upper. And after making the adjustment to the upper, he attaches the shoe to the machine and makes the final adjustments to the machine. Everything has to be positioned just right so there are no gaps between the upper and the mold after the molds are closed. And here you see the injection machine coming down the line. Here's the nozzle extending out to attach itself to the mold. And after it attaches, it will inject two different chemicals into the mold, and as they mix, the foam will expand inside the mold cavity and create the sole. The nozzle is only attached to the mold for a few seconds while it injects the material into the mold cavity, and then it releases. And then it moves down the line to the next mold, and again extends out to attach itself to the mold before ultimately pulling itself away from the mold and going down to the next mold. When everything is going smoothly, the production run can produce 6 pairs of shoes every 5 minutes. Here you can see the material injecting in the brown polyurethane sole because we have a brown upper. The machine's capable of injecting 2 different colors. 1 color per sole, but if we're running brown soles or black soles, the machine can change between the 2 different colors depending upon the upper that is used on top. This machine has 2 tanks of the material up at the top, but once they start running the material into the tubes, they have to make sure they get a good production run, because if not, they have to run cleaning chemicals to get the polyurethane out of the tubes before it dries for the next production run the following day. So they have to run large production runs in order to justify the cleaning materials that are used to dissolve the polyurethane out of the tubes. If you notice here, you can see the bottom of the mold rising up. Here the guy's cleaning off the injector head because sometimes it gets solid particles and the injection is not as smooth as it should be. But here you'll see after the nozzle retracts, you see the bottom of the mold lift up, actually right before the nozzle retracts. There it goes. And here you'll see the finished soles after they open up the mold cavities to inspect the shoes. This is what they look like after the injection process has been completed. Here he's inspecting the sole, making sure it's completely filled and there are no gaps and no problems. Closing up the mold and opening this next mold. And now this one opens up. Taking off the excess trim pieces, separates the mold from the top of the machine, inspecting the polyurethane sole, making sure everything was filled completely. There's a different angle to the molds opening up and the machine rising. Because of the demollant chemical that they sprayed on the mold, the shoe comes cleanly separated from the mold. And here he is taking the shoes out of the last. There's this little rack where he stores the shoes after they've been taken out of the last. He's undoing the laces, so it's a lot easier to pull the shoes out without damaging anything. Here's the last going onto the jack stack, splitting the last to make it easy to pull out, and separating the last from the shoe. You see that same cardboard piece that he put in earlier, he takes it out. This keeps the shoe from sticking to the last. There you go. You see him breaking the hinge to the last, so it's a lot easier to slide the shoe away from the last. A lot of companies, after this process, they'll just throw the shoes in buckets or big barrels, but we don't do that. Here you can see me coming in to help, doing some final inspection. This is the first production of our samples, so I was like a proud little father wanting to see his children after they've been made. Visually inspecting everything, making sure everything looks good. And you can't just look at one shoe, you've got to look at them all, obviously. Here, this machine is trimming off the edges, the excess pieces to the polyurethane foam, so that it has a nice finished look to it. You got to be careful not to get his fingers inside these blades, because they're really sharp and they do their job very well. After the excess trim pieces are cut away, then the shoe is sent to the final stage where they are prepped and cleaned and polished a little bit before they're put into boxes, before the shoes are shipped out. Here you can see me doing the final inspection after the trim pieces have been cut away. The shoes are nice and light and flexible, so it puts a smile on my face. I felt very good after seeing these shoes for the first time after they were produced with the soles attached, and it reminded me of the first times that I saw my baby after she was born in the hospital. We really enjoyed making these shoes. I hope you found this very informative. If you have any questions, please again visit us at perfectfittingshoes.com or check us out on Facebook and YouTube under the company name Perfect Fitting Shoes. We're also doing crowdsource funding on Indiegogo.com under Perfect Fitting Shoes. We truly hope to hear from you soon, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.